What's up, guys? I'm Mason from True Metal Supply. I'm joined with Paul Price from Devil Dog Roofing. We are out here in beautiful Cleveland, Tennessee, here in East Tennessee, taking a look at a nice post frame building project. We're going to do a walkthrough today and show you kind of how these go up and the products we use to install these buildings. Paul, give us just kind of a general overview, the size of this building and what it's going to be used for.
So the size of this building is a 26 by 44 with a beautiful 10 foot by 26 foot porch on it. The basic use of this is for a church. So initially going to be used for a kitchen, supplying food while they're building the church, and after that they're going to turn into some type of Sunday school room.
Yes, they're actually building a building right here, right behind where the camera's sitting.
Yes. And
then this is going to be kind of their utility building. This is kind of cool how they wanted the porch roof to basically match the slope of the main roof line.
Yes, yeah, so it's a slight transition. It's really hard to tell, but it does go from a 412, which is the main building, and the porch is on a 312.
All right, so the customer chose to do a clay colored Tuff-Rib siding. This is our traditional 3 foot wide panel. It's a multi-use panel. It can be used for roofing, it can be used for siding. Talk a little bit about how this gets installed.
So behind this is 2x6 purlins, which is attached from 6x6 posts, which is on the inside here. And then it's got some building wrap before that.
How easy is it to work with Tuff-Rib as a siding panel? Trimming it out, cutting it around framed openings?
It's probably the easiest material you'll use when it comes to siding. You know, if you compare it to board and batten, or even if you want to put standing seam on there, it's a lot easier to work with when it comes to getting around windows and into the J channel for sure.
All right, so this building also has a black Tuff-Rib metal roof. So
yes.
Talk a little bit about how that gets installed on a post frame building.
So since we use steel trusses, what happens is it has cups in there which we put 2x6 purlins in. And that's on every 2 foot along the truss all the way up to the peak. From the bottom to the peak, it's on 2 foot on center. And then after that, what you do is we'll just take the Tuff-Rib, just like on a house or even, you know, or a garage or a shed, depending on what you're working on. Lay it down, and what we do is we'll just line the screws up with the purlins. It's a little slower because it's on 1.5 inches, but at the end of the day, it gives you a great product. As you can tell with the screw lines and the way the roof looks, is nice and flat, even with using a 2x6 purlin.
So the nice thing about a Tuff-Rib metal roof, especially on like a utility building like this, is you don't have to put solid decking down. You can just install the panels directly over top of the purlins.
Yeah, and screw directly to the purlin from there. You don't need no special substrate or nothing like that.
So those purlins just kind of attach directly into those steel trusses. Let's go walk inside the building, take a look at how those work. All right, so we're inside the building here. If you look up, you can see the black steel trusses that are supporting the roofing system. Paul, talk a little bit about how those trusses are installed and the purlins we were talking about outside.
So we got a 26 foot wide building here, and the trusses, they always come in 2 sections, up to 50 feet, then it gets a little more complicated than that. But what happens is they come in 2 sections, they meet in the middle. They use 4.5 inch 5/8 hex bolts. You attach those together, and the beautiful part about it is you just set those on top of the 6x6s. They use 4 hot dip galvanized screws, mounted right to the 6x6. And then on top of that, as you can tell, you see the 2x6 purlins here. They sit in these already welded on cups on top of the steel trusses, which makes it super convenient to install. It already has pre-drilled holes. So when you set your 2x6 in there, you already got a slot where you can put your 2 screws on the front and back. It locks that 2x6 right in place and makes it for an easy install when it comes to putting the roofing sheet metal on.
And people that have worked with wood trusses probably asking some questions. One of the biggest differences between these steel trusses and a wood truss is there's no truss carrier. It just mounts directly on the post like you were saying, and you also don't have to notch the posts or anything like that.
No, you just cut your post to the height that you want the building at, and then you just set these things right on top of it, mounts right to it, easy installation, and allows you to get further in your progress when it comes to completing the building.
One of the reasons people choose steel trusses is they allow you to go up to 12 foot on center for your bay spacing, and they also give you maximum overhead space. These are parallel cord steel trusses. As you can see, there's a ton of overhead space. If we were just using a flat truss, we wouldn't have nearly as much head height as we've got inside this building. So they got plenty of room for all the stuff they need to take care of in this building. All right, Paul, so we are standing in front of a Janus roll-up door. This one's an 8x8. There's a 10x10 on the gable side of the building.
Yes,
Talk a little bit about how these roll-up doors get installed.
So basically what happens is it's attached to a 6x6 post. Pretty easy installation, nothing complex about it. You attach it to the post, set the door inside of it, and it works very easily and smooth. So
this is actually an interior mounted door, so it's not mounting on the inside of the post, it's mounting on the back side of the post, is that right?
Yeah, mount on the back side of the post, so it allows it to roll up on itself.
And this is a roll-up door, so it's not a sectional garage door like you might be used to seeing on a home or residential use. The nice thing about that is it actually gives you all the overhead space we were talking about with the steel trusses. It just rolls up into a barrel. It's not on a track that's going overhead.
Absolutely.
And this is a Janus roll-up door, and this one was color matched to the trim and to the roof of this building. This is a super durable polyester coating that's going to last and retain its color just as long as that lifetime metal roof that's on top of this building. All right, so we are out on the gable side of this post frame building, and we're looking at the soffit here, Paul. We used a black SpeedLap steel soffit for this building. Talk about that SpeedLap.
Pretty easy to install, very sleek, nice. It gives it a good look. Pops really easily here. Just easy install. Slides in beautifully, as you can see right here. Holds it nicely, nice and tight.
Good lock.
You know, good lock.
From an installer perspective, how easy was it to use SpeedLap versus other soffits you've used?
Compared to Flush Lock, which I've used, it's hard to even compare really how easy this is to install. And just the durability of it, the look of it, it looks like your traditional vinyl soffit, but it is steel. And then it gives it the durability of steel as well, along with the paint coating as well, which is beautifully matched to the rest of the trim, which allows, you know, the clay side and the pop. And so in comparison, I recommend this SpeedLap 10 out of 10.
And a lot of people are using even like a very light aluminum soffit these days too. Like you said, this is steel, so this is giving your soffit the same durability as your wall panels and your roofing panels.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. You know, it's not just going to crinkle up as soon as something hits it. It's going to take a lot to damage this product.
And this is called SpeedLap. Did it live up to its name? Does it go up fast?
It goes up really, really fast. It really does. Easy to install. It's a wonderful product, it really is.
We are here in front of one of our 3x4 post frame windows. This customer went with a vertical slider with grids. Looks great. They had this one painted black to match the black trim on this building. It's going to look phenomenal. Paul, how does one of these post frame windows get installed?
So what happens is before we install it, we block out in between the 2x6 purlins that run along this way, the size of the window, which is a 3x4, which is the rough opening of this window. And then before you actually install the window, we'll take some silicone, Lexel preferably, run along the top, along the sides, along the nail holes, and then we'll slide it in and install it just like that and put a nail in each one of the flanges of the openings here. And then as another precautionary measurement for a proper install window, we'll put window tape along the edges, along the side, and along the top, and that's just to keep water from getting behind it. And we leave the bottom untaped, so if water was to get back there, it could just run out and not go back inside the building.
All right, Paul, we are standing underneath that beautiful porch you were mentioning earlier, and you installed Tuff-Rib panels, the same panels we used on the wall and the ceiling, or as the roof and the walls as the ceiling panel for this porch.
Yes, absolutely. And easy to install, just like it was on the siding as well. Just cut the panel down the size, slip it in your J channel, and put screws on it. And on the ceiling, we put it on 3 foot on center instead of 2 foot on center, just because it doesn't need it, because there's not going to be that much wind uplift underneath this porch.
All right, Paul, so this is a post frame building. People that aren't familiar with this might have noticed this doesn't look like a traditional stud frame building. Talk about post frame and how that actually works.
So to make this a post frame, what it is, we use 6x6 posts to basically put the wall structures up lining it with 2x6 purlins, which I recommend over 2x4s every time. And those are not nailed up, those are actually installed with structural screws that look just like this right here. And we got roughly 2 in the center right here on each purlin. And in the corners, we put 4 in that to lock the corners in nice and tight.
So let's talk about that structural screw you were talking about. That's kind of a big deal. And a lot of people cut corners when they're installing their girts on those posts, and they'll use like a deck screw or something that can shear off.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's a frame grip screw that's specifically made for post frame buildings like this. So it's got a better shear strength, right? It won't actually snap off like a deck screw might.
Oh, absolutely. And it just makes you feel a little more comfortable when you install in the building. You're not relying on ring shank nails or someone nailing nails up there that could rust over time because they use the wrong nails because they're going into a treated lumber.
All right, Paul, so when you're installing your girts, these boards aren't treated, right? These are just non-treated boards because they're not really coming in contact with any moisture. But down here are skirt boards. Some people call it a splash guard. Everybody's got a different name for it. That bottom board actually is treated.
Yes, it is. And the reason why it is treated is because it is in contact with the concrete. And you don't want to put nothing that's not treated with the concrete because what's going to happen, it'll wind up absorbing the moisture that's coming up through the concrete on the inside. So what it does is the treated lumber it's meant to touch the concrete. It's meant to prevent that from happening, from rotting or mildew or anything like that, or decay.
So like you said, don't put a non-treated board as your skirt board. Always use a treated board as your skirt board.
Oh, every time. Yes, sir.
All right, we are inside the building here. Paul, we're looking at one of these framed openings for these vertical slider windows. Talk a little bit about how you frame out an opening in a post frame building.
So for this particular window, we got a 3x4. So when you go to build out your rough opening, it's exactly what the window is, 3 foot by 4 foot. There's many ways to do this. This is just the one way I chose to build this window out. Is I got your window sill here, along with a header, which is not really holding anything. That's the reason why it's just a 1 2x6 right here, because all the weight, as you can tell, is sitting on these steel trusses, which is on the 6x6. So there's no overhead load. And then of course we put some to finish out the frame of the box. I like to attach it up between 4 or 5 of the purlins all the way up, so it's nice and tight to keep away from the sway, because it is on an 8-foot span.
But everything's framed in with 2x6 here.
Everything's framed in with 2x6, and of course we take our building wrap and you wrap it on the inside of the window, and that helps with water if there was to get any water back there, keep from rotting.
All right, Paul, on the one of the things about steel trusses is there's not a different gable truss like you typically see with the wood truss. It's the same parallel core truss. So you kind of have to frame that out all the way up the gable. How are you attaching those girts on the outside of that to the steel truss?
So what's worked out great for me, and what I like to use here, is I'll take and I'll pre-drill on that steel truss up there, on that webbing that goes up through the bottom and the top cord there. And what I'll do is I'll pre-drill it with a 1/4-inch steel bit. And then what I'll do is I'll hold on the backside, use the same structural screws that I attach my 2x6 purlins on here, and I'll run it through the steel truss into the 2x6. It gives it a nice solid backing. That way it gives me something to nail my J channel to for my soffit, as well as my metal siding, and give me a place to put a screw in for that Tuff-Rib on the outside.
All right, thanks for checking out this video of this post frame build. We've got a lot more videos like this coming up, and if you enjoyed what you were watching, go ahead and hit the subscribe button for us. If you want to learn more about getting a post frame building like the one we walked through here, go to truemetalsupply.com. We manufacture and supply metal roofing, metal siding, and post frame building materials all across the country.